This
This
is
is
CPDSS
CBSS
News.
News. I am Rose here today on April 6, 1934, welcoming Marjorie, Florence, Harold, and Louis on our first radio broadcast since the Great Depression, which peaked from 1932 to 1933. So, Louis, where did you live before the Great Depression?
Well, to answer that question, I lived in a nice house with my two sons and one daughter. Both my sons were 10s and they were 16. My daughter was 9 and my life was perfect. We had a nice house, the perfect life, the perfect family. Everything was perfect until the Depression hit.
How was your life after the Great Depression?
But then I went bankrupt. I lost my house, so I lived in the streets. I sent my kids away to find job opportunities so they can have a better life. My daughter, on the other hand, stayed with me as she passed away from starvation and disease. We didn't have any money for food, anything. I didn't have any options. I always tried to blame myself for this, but there was nothing I could do.
So, Nancy Marjorie, what did you go through during the Great Depression? It was tough on me mentally and physically. I had to go to New York and Virginia in search of a job, and the only one I found was in a factory. I met Florence there. We became close friends, and now after the Great Depression, we live together. So, Florence, Marjorie said that she met you at the factory. How'd you get there? What was your journey?
I came from Alabama to Virginia, trying to find a place to stay that I could afford while I was working. I found a factory that was looking for jobs. They took me in. Even though it wasn't good pay, it was something. That's where I found Nancy Marjorie. We instantly bonded, and now we're close friends that I couldn't live without.
Now, Harold, I know you're not from the United States, and you didn't know what was happening over here while you were in England, but how did you react when you arrived here?
I saw America as a place for opportunities, but that clearly went all away when I arrived here. I was unaware of what was going to happen to me when I got here. I was poor, lonely, and afraid. Now that it's all over, I am finally becoming stable.
So, Florence, how did you get to Virginia for your job opportunities?
To get to Virginia, I rode the rails. It was dangerous, but it was what needed to be done for survival. I witnessed multiple deaths that scarred me for life. I don't think I could ever go back to that.
Louis, what did you do as a job during the Great Depression?
I sold apples for 5 cents each. Not a lot of people bought them because they had little money for anything.
What kind of clothing did you have during the Great Depression?
No one had many clothes because fabric was expensive and no one had the money for it. It was hard to earn. The clothes people did have, though, were zippers. No buttons. Buttons were much more expensive than zippers.
Harold, where did you live during the Depression and what were the conditions?
During the Depression, I camped in the Great Lawn at Central Park. During the winter, it was cold, and most of the people were dying due to weather. I later moved to St. Louis in Hooverville, which was one of the largest.
Wait, what is a Hooverville?
A Hooverville is a town that was built by the homeless during the Great Depression. They were named after Herbert Hoover, the president at the time, who many blamed for the Depression.
Thank you guys for tuning in today and listening to everyone's tragic stories and struggles they face while going through the Depression.